What was the most shocking thing you think we heard about?
It's that turning the blind eye. We go back to that, don't we? It's that institutional refusal to acknowledge a massive, massive problem. You don't have to be an expert to think, hang on a minute, we've had it all over the country. Why would London, the capital, with millions and millions of people in this city, be immune to this problem that has clearly blighted so many of our communities?
Sam, what is it you want to roast this week?
This is astonishing. This is a man who has presided over years and years and years of gaffes and bias, and instead of taking responsibility for it, he's blaming the people who are upset about this, calling them enemies of the BBC.
Welcome to the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ and this is Daily Express Deputy Editor Sam Lister. Sam, you're looking great again.
Thank you.
I've got to say, I've only been working with you for like 9 months, but I think your fashion and style has improved significantly.
You've fallen into the classic male trap there. What do you mean, JJ? You saying I looked awful before?
Yeah, yes. And you don't look awful anymore. You look great.
Well, thank God for that.
Well, thank God it's Friday, which means it's time for Expresso yourselves. The inbox has been bursting at the seams, and we've got questions and comments from viewers and listeners all over the globe. Let's have a look to see what you lovely people have been saying over the last few days. Jolly Choo Choos says, lovely to see Belinda again, one of the Brexit angels, along with Alex and Isabel. Isabel Hookshot. You know Isabel?
I do.
You think we should get on the show?
Well, we can ask.
If you want her on the show,
let us know
let
below.
us know. Yeah, hit the comments box. Clive Thomas says, God, another one for Belinda. Belinda, you are such a brilliant speaker. Hope you are a Reform member or supporter. Reform needs people like you in a strong position in the party. Well, Clive, we can tell you she actually is a Reform member. She was spokesperson for them for a while.
Yeah, I think because clearly she was an MEP for the Brexit Party. She has now gone over to be a member of Reform. She was a spokesperson, but I think at the moment she's juggling lots of things, lots of work. So she's stepped back for the moment. But she's very much at the heart of Reform. So she's totally plugged in and very passionate. And
at the heart of Daily Expresso as well. The Santi vlog says, good morning, JJ. I really love your show and you have gifted, talented guests and very impressive, mostly with beauty and brains. Amen. Oh, mostly. So
who's the ones here?
James Walker.
I'm slightly worried that Santi vlog might comment below this episode.
Oh, good grief. Look who's here again. The musical man.
I love musical
guitar.
Man.
Yeah, sometimes musical man says good comments and sometimes says terrible ones. This one says, oh, okay, it's a good one. Well said, JJ, on the justice system, you would have my votes. Eh?
Well, it's you and your, pursuit of chemical castration for anybody who's even like vaguely transgressed in life.
That's it. You commit a crime that's sexual chemical castration. Can't believe you're so soft on crime. Now, you're what's wrong with the right. That's what you are. God, we need to be tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime, Sam. Anyway, Stephen Rowe says, JJ, you are the best.
Oh,
thanks, Stephen.
Is that really your mum? Stephen.
That's great. Now, let's get stuck into the juiciest stuff we've covered this week. On Wednesday, we broadcast an interview with royal biographer Andrew Loney, who was pulling absolutely zero punches about the man formerly known as Prince Andrew. We heard a number of shocking details: appalling treatment of his staff, romps in Hong Kong, Fergie staying at Epstein's residence after they were supposed to have cut him adrift, and most shockingly, tales of bringing prostitutes back to Buckingham Palace. Naturally, a lot of you have been angry to see these details of a royal come to light, and here are some of your comments. Cheekbones says, this man's behaviour, when fully exposed, will be the end of the royal family. Midnight Hour says, look into how many politicians, police, judges, let alone royals have had sex with prostitutes. Though morally wrong, these prostitutes are often vulnerable. Unfortunately, there are always men who take advantage of them. The problem is most don't get named and shamed, let alone face prosecution. And Cruella says, because taxpayers' money paid for this trip, pensioners heat or eat while this knob swans about spending freely on his own pleasure. Now, Sam, there were a number of comments about this as well, with several, I presume, men saying, what's the big deal? He slept with some prostitutes in Hong Kong. We all do it. We don't. We don't all do it.
Blimey. Well, I think, look, we know quite clearly he particularly enjoys group sex. That's a theme that has emerged. I don't have a problem. Do what you want to do. Consenting adults, whatever. That's not the issue here, is it? But really, I think what the what the problem is for me is the contempt he shows for ordinary people, and then not just ordinary people, vulnerable people. You know, these prostitutes are women who are being exploited.
Yeah.
He's a prince, and he, you know, let's be honest, he could pretty much have his pick of most women around the world who are into that kind of thing. You know, lots of women would be quite happy to marry a prince or have a you know, some kind of liaison with the prince. You know, he could pretty much, you know, let's just say he wouldn't be short on offers, but what he's chosen to do is go for women who he has complete power over, vulnerable women who he has complete power over. And I think that's really quite horrible, despicable stuff. And it isn't just women he is treating like that. All of the tales that come out in Andrew Loney's book and in the interviews subsequently with him, it's the everyday tales of how he treats those officers, officers who are paid to protect him. Officers were paying to protect him.
Yeah.
Were treated like skivvies. You know, these are highly trained police officers who have really, you know, served this country to the highest levels of distinction. To get into that diplomatic service, you are at the top of your game. And he's treating them like flunkies. And, you know, the discussion Andrew had about how prostitutes were being brought into royal court and how Andrew would not give the names of the people that were bringing in, that really stopped them from doing their jobs. How can they protect him when he won't even give the names of the people who were coming to that palace? But also just the contempt. You know, there was one protection officer, he called her lardy arsed C, and you know, just just actually quite horrible behaviour. Now, you know, in life, many people can be horrible people. It's not against the law to be a despicable, awful person.
Yeah.
But I think most people who feel, when they've seen these allegations or read them, feel pretty affronted that we have to pay for him.
Yeah.
You know, go and be a horrible person on your own dime.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to fund you. I don't want to have to fund all the police protection officers who then have to turn a blind eye to the prostitutes coming in. I don't want to have to fund the ambassadors who you're treating like a pimp.
Yeah.
You know, one of the ambassadors actually said to him, didn't they, I'm not a pimp, when he asked them to procure some women for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just pretty gruesome, dark behaviour. And I, you know, I don't want to pay for that.
Absolutely, and we shouldn't have to, and hopefully now we're never going to have to pay for him again. But how does it make the Queen look? Because of all the royals, the Queen is my favourite, as she is for probably most people in this country who are fans of the monarchy. It seems that, according to Andrew Loney, she knew about pretty much everything, and she turned a blind eye to it to protect her foolish child.
I think there's two things, aren't there? I think the Queen, to her bones, to her core, understood that her job was to keep the monarchy on its feet, to protect it, to keep it going for future generations. You know, she did not want to be the last Queen of England. She wanted to protect the institution. Now, clearly, as we've seen with many, many different organisations, when people try and protect the institution, bad things can happen within it. And if you don't get a grip of that quite quickly, it spirals out of control. That's clearly what happened here. But also, she is a mother. She was a mother. And, you know, you don't get to pick. You don't get to pick and choose who your relatives are in life, do you? And I think the love of a mother, it's difficult to act with that kind of impartiality and perhaps the sternness that was necessary. Ultimately, he was her favourite child, and she was blinded by that.
That's a shame. I hope his actions and these revelations from the interview we did with Andrew Loney don't tarnish Queen Elizabeth and her memory too much. But maybe.
I think ultimately the nation remembers the Queen over a period of many decades doing great public service. She was a woman who lived frugally, as much as any monarch can, in that she, you know, as we've discussed before, she, you know, kept all the leftovers in the Tupperware. She was not somebody like her son who went round spending money in this kind of grotesque way. She understood that the public were watching, and she tried her best to be that kind of modest monarch that she knew the nation wanted. So, and I think people don't forget that. But yeah, Andrew has done an enormous amount of damage, and that's clearly why the king booted him out in the end.
Yeah, Good. Here for the king. Now, it was a week of special deep dives, as on Thursday, we then brought you a sit down with our very own Zach Garner-Perkis. He's our investigations editor here at The Express. Now, Zach was here to tell us about the most recent project that he's dedicated himself to, uncovering a tidal wave of grooming gangs. So, here's some of the comments you guys have sent in. The Mancunian says, I hope and pray these journalists keep digging because one gets the feeling this could well be a story of the decade. You better believe it says, I think we all have our opinion of Sadiq Khan. However, the attitude of the police is very concerning, verging on irresponsible. I've said this before and will again, all heads of the police throughout the country should be invited to reapply for their jobs. They can therefore be asked about their up-to-date opinion of what needs to be done and exactly how they would go about doing this. Good point. Asher5 says, I've seen Layla Cunningham on GB News. She's brilliant, Egyptian roots, Muslim, 7 children, lawyer, reform candidate. She's feisty and sees the problems mass immigration has brought to this country. She would be a perfect London mayor. Oh, on that last one, you'll be pleased to know, Asher, that we are going to have Layla Cunningham actually here in the studio before the end of the month. So keep tuned for that. Sam, this interview I did with Zach Garner-Perkis, what was the most shocking thing you think we heard about?
Well, I think it's it's that turning the blind eye. We go back to that, don't we? It's that institutional refusal to acknowledge a massive problem. And I think I will just say, clearly I am biased because I work very closely with Zach. But if you give Zach something to dig into, or actually you don't have to, he will come to you with it. He's relentless in his pursuit of that story. And he has gone through this systematically. Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, and the Met Chief Commissioner, Mark Rowley, they denied there was any problem in the city with grooming. Now, you don't have to be an expert to think, hang on a minute, we've had it all over the country. Why would London, the capital, with millions and millions of people in this city, be immune to this problem that has clearly blighted so many of our communities? Zach thought that, and so thought, right, how am I going to get to the bottom of this? And he has been working with a colleague on My London, one of our sister titles, Callum Cuddiford. He's a crime reporter, and between them, I cannot begin to tell you how much work they have done into this. So they collated all the publicly available information. They went through thousands and thousands of pages of documents. They went through police inspectorate reports. They went through council reports, serious case reviews. They went through the Alexis J inquiry report. And by going through all these documents, which are available publicly, they pulled together this absolutely widespread, clearly systematic scale of abuse in this city. And all of that information is there. You know, Zach found it with Callum. So how the police seem to have missed all this and how the mayor seemed to have missed all this, I do not know. Now, it's taken them a lot of work to get all this stuff together. But if they can do it, I'm sure the authorities in this city, which we pay handsomely through our council tax, if they could be bothered, they would find the information themselves. So I think we have to kind of, you know, obviously praise Zach for his absolutely relentless hard work on this, but we have to question, why did the police not do this? Why did the mayor not want to know about this? Why are local councils turning a blind eye to this? This is a huge problem. And actually, as a result of Zach's work, the police announced a couple of weeks ago that they are reviewing 9,000 cases. Now, we don't know that all 9,000 will be grooming gangs, but actually the fact that they've gone from 0 cases in the city to reviewing 9,000, I think speaks volumes.
Now, they said also this is going to take about 15 years for them to get through all the cases they estimate. But doesn't it make you proud when our investigations lead to introspection like this?
Absolutely. This only happened because of the Express and My London and our investigation into this. This has only happened. Sadiq Khan did not want to know. He's made that very clear at council meetings, that the Met did not want to know. We ran a story on Monday about how Levi Belfield, obviously one of our most prolific serial killers, how the gang that he was linked to has been linked to grooming gang cases, but the police have not pursued that, and this is something that we need them to look into. This is, you know, you cannot just turn a blind eye to these things. You can't just say, oh, well, it was in the past. They need to learn the lessons from that. How can they ignore such a kind of widespread industrial abuse on the scale that's been happening in the city if you look at the evidence Zach has pulled forward.
I feel like if this happened anywhere else in the world, or if this was Donald Trump and people are saying to Trump, here's the evidence of grooming gangs and you turn a blind eye to it, people will be calling for him to resign.
Yeah.
People are calling for Khan to resign, but I feel like he's protected in London. I can't see him losing any future elections for mayor, even after a scandal as big as this.
No, that's it. He clearly, he's rock solid with his base. But I think if you look at the last election result, although Susan Hall didn't win, she didn't do as badly as was predicted, and the previous candidate before that, Lord Bailey, the Conservative candidate before that, came very, very close. So I think there is a big contingent in this city who are fed up with Sadiq Khan, not just for this issue, for many, many issues.
Yeah.
There are many things you could do Sadiq Khan on, but I think this is the most serious. And I think we will see as Zach keeps pulling at all those threads, digging away, Sadiq Khan is going to be under immense pressure on this.
Good. Right, it is time for our Daily Expresso weekly roast. It's been another hectic week with BBC resignations, Trump threatening a $1 billion lawsuit, and NHS staff afraid of the St. George's flag. But Sam, what is it you want to roast this week?
Well, look, this is not original, but it is the only story in town, really, isn't it? The absolute, again, we go back to that theme of institutional cover-ups. This time the BBC, led by Tim Davie, over the last few years. Obviously, he had to resign last Sunday. But the story has rumbled on all week, and it's not going away. Who comes next? It could be even worse, heaven forfend. But I think particularly with Tim Davie, I feel particularly angry because he had a big pop at the so-called enemies trying to attack the BBC. This is astonishing. This is a man who has presided over years and years and years of gaffes and bias. And instead of taking responsibility for it, he's blaming people. He's blaming the people who are upset about this, calling them enemies of the BBC. They're not enemies. They're just rightly angry that they're having to pay for his organisation. Again, we come back to that. We're having to pay for this organisation. And we have to put up with all this nonsense. So, for example, obviously, clearly the President Trump incident was the most egregious mistake they've made. But the way they've treated women, the way they've treated Jewish viewers, the absolute institutional bias of BBC Arabic. It is an organisation that is actually absolutely captured by a particular mindset. And the fact that when he has to take the fall for it, he can't admit any failings in that institution. He blames other people for being miffed about this lack of impartiality. I thought was pretty rich. And what I found particularly interesting in this debacle was one of the reports said that an editor at the BBC's News at 10, one of its flagship news shows, was deferring to some very junior member of staff on what kind of language to use when it comes to trans rights. Now, that's putting the kids in charge. The kids have burnt down the house. Don't be surprised when you allow 20-odd-year-old members of staff to tell the News at 10 flagship show how to behave. Don't be surprised when it all blows up in your face.
With something you said there about a certain mindset has overtaken the BBC institution. You know who you sound like?
Go on.
Liz Truss. She sat in that very chair and she said, all the institutions have been taken over by left-leaning people. Our universities, the NHS, the BBC.
It's true.
So you're in with this deep state thing, are you?
I wouldn't describe it as deep state at all. I don't think it's deep state at all. I think what it is if you have institutions that are based in London, the BBC attempted to stop this by putting some studios in Manchester. What happens is everyone still commutes up and down from London.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed the mindset at all, has it? Are they employing local working class Northerners? No, it's still just people from London who come up and down on the train. The guests are still coming from London up and down on the train.
Yeah.
It's not changed the mindset at all. And so I think it's not about deep state JJ, but there's a lot of outrage among the left who are now scrabbling around trying to save the BBC. And I'm not against the BBC at all, but I just want it to do what it's supposed to do. And that's what we pay it to do. And I think if it did that, there wouldn't be a problem, would there? But instead, people feel let down by it. It's been on a different side to the majority of the population on most issues for a long time now.
Yeah.
And that is because there is a mindset that believes a certain attitude is the right one. And you cannot get past that.
Yeah. I actually totally agree with you. I actually completely agree. Right, now time for a section I call Columnist's Corner, where I basically get to plug my column that's out on Monday. So here's a little sneak peek. It's been 1 year since Trump was re-elected. He put off the comeback of the century. And yeah, he's got some haters. I don't think everything he does is great, but I think he has done actually a lot of good things in those 12 months so far. One thing I think is most undeniable, he's been loyal to his base. Sam, I don't know what you think about this, but I think on this, just for pure optics, it looks like he's tackling migration. He's put more money into ICE. Yeah, people are kicking off about it. But what people actually are missing is that Biden, after the same amount of time in office, had deported more people from the US than Trump has. Barack Obama, in his 8 years, deported more illegal immigrants than every 21st century president combined.
So is Trump failing then?
Well, here's the thing. So technically, Trump is failing, but optically, it looks like he's actually doing something about it.
Oh, God, so he's just pretending he's doing more. But Obama was the big...
Obama, the deporter-in-chief was Obama, yeah.
Blimey, maybe we should bring Obama back then.
But Trump supporters are seeing more cops on the street, more ICE operatives on the street, so they feel like things are happening. And that's almost more important than actually...
Is it more important than doing it? Believing it's being done.
Believing it's being seeing what they call justice being done is more important than actually being done.
Wow, okay. Maybe that. maybe Labour need a few lessons on that then.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to show.
Yeah, exactly. Show that they're trying to stop it. Show they've got more police guarding the beaches or whatever.
Even if they're failing.
As
long as it looks like you're doing it, it doesn't matter.
Well, there you go. You can't have Starmer saying we're going to crush the gangs.
Yeah.
Okay, you're saying you're going to crush it. Great. What the people want to see is actually people on the beaches welcoming the small dinghy people onto the beach and saying straight into this van, and we're going to take you straight to the army base, and this we're going to stay until we can deport you or repatriate you. But yeah.
Well, I think that was the whole point of the Rwanda plan, really, wasn't it? That you got rid of. Showing that you're putting people straight on a plane out of here. If only he'd stuck with Rwanda.
We sent more Home Secretaries to Rwanda than we did.
Well, that's because it never actually started, did it?
Well, the one in one out system's gone very well for them, hasn't it? We've now had a second person who had been
ping pong.
Yeah, in out, shake it all about.
Hokey cokey system. Yeah.
Right. Well, Sam, thanks for making so much effort today with the outfit again, and thanks for joining us. That is it for this week. Please keep leaving your thoughts in the comments. And as always, let us know who you want on the show. Thanks for watching the Daily Expresso, and join us again on Monday, where we'll get stuck straight into the headlines. Bye-bye.